Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
O-line, offensive line here. The combine was everybody was, if you wanted to see a 300-pound guy run, a 4.2, it happened all weekend. It seemed like everybody's going crazy for that. We'll start with the offensive line. I know you had some thoughts about kind of your top five guys, and the Raiders are kind of probably in that business. So what do you see here for the offensive line?
Yeah, first, I think it's interesting that everyone was running exceptional times. We need to measure that 60 yards. Are we doing the old 57-yard, dash here? Or I'm sorry, the 37-yard instead of the 40?
Yeah.
In baseball, they run the 60, so we call it like the 57 or 58. But was it really 40 yards? Because those times are unbelievable. These big men, these offensive linemen I'll talk about, like three of the four that I'm going to talk about ran sub-5. They're all over 300 pounds. But yeah, I just, the top five offensive linemen going to this, obviously the offensive tackles are at the top. So I have four offensive tackles, and then kind of the guy, Johan Dotson, who I'll talk about first, comes in as my fifth offensive lineman for this draft. Interior guy, he can play guard, he can play center. There's some versatility here. He has played some left tackle, measured in at 6'2.5", 314 pounds, pretty good size. Surprisingly, on 34-inch length arms. So he's got tackle length arms. He doesn't have quite the height. So this is probably going to stay on the interior. I don't think a team's going to take him at 6'2.5" and try to move him outside. But this is a powerful guy. He did 32 reps. He was the only tackle of the top five I want to talk about, or offensive lineman, that lifted. Had a really good short shuttle, 3-cone drill. But kind of just give you a quick elevator pitch. I took some notes. I'm like, when I think about these guys, what words pop into my head? The first thing with Johan Dotson out of Boston College is versatility. Powerful, athletic. He's the top interior guard, and he's a strong dude. So he's going to win right away in the run game. He's probably going to hold up pretty well in pass protection. Obviously, the better guys, the Chris Joneses of the world, the Aaron Donalds, he's going to probably have a little bit of trouble with those guys early. But clearly, Johan Dotson, to me, is the top 20 guy in the draft now. So, there is value at 22 if the Raiders do want to go with an interior lineman. He's probably going to go somewhere in that 18 to 22, 24 range. He's probably going to push the center out of Iowa is probably who's the first interior guy taken. So my top five offensive linemen, I'm going to go Johan Dotson, number 5. Number 4, Trevor Penning, the offensive tackle out of Northern Iowa. Massive dude, 6'7", 325. He checks the arm length, 34 1/8 inch. Guy ran a 4.89 at 6'7", 325 pounds. So similar to Colton Miller at that size. Miller wasn't quite 325 pounds, but 6'7", big guy that's athletic. It was surprising when you talk about Penning, because all we talk about was this guy's a mauler. He gets in there and he beats guys up. He plays to the whistle. He's got some of that Steve Wisniewski nasty attitude to him. He's throwing guys down in the Senior Bowl. Everyone's talking about he's a pure right tackle, but why can't this guy play left tackle? I'd like to see what he can do over there. Surprising athletic ability and mobility when he ran the short shuttle and 3-cone. So Trevor Penning comes in to me, number 4. I think he kind of went from the bottom, 20 to 30 in the draft, where now I think Trevor Penning's clearly put himself in the top 15, and I could see him coming off the board in the top 10. These tackles are going to fly off the board because the teams aren't going to be reaching for some of these quarterbacks. So number 4, I'm going to go Trevor Penning. I thought he had a good combine. Number 3, I'm going to go Charles Cross, the offensive tackle out of Texas A&M. 6'4.5", 307 pounds. So can get a little bit stronger. There's room to add some weight to this frame. Again, checks the arm length right away, 34.5-inch arms, ran a 4.95. When I think of Cross, I think of movement skills. This guy's probably the best pass blocking tackle in the draft as far as his ability to mirror, to slide, and be able to get his hands on guys and not lose the corner. Now, he needs to improve his run blocking, but I'm not going to hold that against him. They were in the air raid. He's from Mississippi State. The air raid offense in Mississippi State. So he wasn't asked much to run block, so I'm not going to hold it against him, but clearly it is something that he does need to work on. But he has the athletic skills, the movement skills. Now he's going to have to get stronger. Again, he's 307 pounds, but I believe he arrived on campus at 260. So he's already put, 47 pounds on his frame while he's been on campus. Can this guy get, it might be kind of similar to Colton Miller, where maybe he needs a year in an off season with an NFL weight program. We could be talking about this guy in year 2 at 6'5", 325, 330. And then he's a different animal. But clearly, again, to me, he's a top 10 guy in this draft. Pass protectors are going to fly off the board. Number 2, I went with the offensive tackle, North Carolina State, Akeem Iguanu, I believe is his name. Not quite the height you're looking for. He came in at exactly 6'4", 310 pounds, but 34-inch arms. Again, the ability to get to the second level. He can move 4.93 and 40. And when I think of him, he's got a wrestling background. This guy's one of the best run blocking tackles, and he's violent. This guy bullies people. Now the technique, pass blocking needs work, but when he gets his hands on you, this guy finishes. And again, he's probably going to go top 5, just because he does have that ability to be violent. He has a mean streak. He is, like I said, probably the best run blocker of all these guys. And then he does have pretty good tape as far as a pass blocker, but there are times where he can get beat with speed. So that's the one thing he needs to clean up. But again, athletic skills are off the charts. And then the number 1 tackle or offensive lineman for me is from Evan Neal from Alabama. Massive guy, 6'7", and 4'8", 337 pounds. He didn't have an ounce of body fat. Did you see the picture of him without a shirt on? He's a 337-pound dude. 34-inch arms. Didn't do any of the workout stuff. He's going to do it his pro day. But this, physical, huge guy. You can't get around him. I think kind of like Orlando Brown over there in Kansas City as far as size. It's really hard to get the corner on him. Explosive run blocker. This guy, when he gets his hands on you, can move the pile. Now with him, it's consistency. Does he do it down to down? Is this a guy that's going to show up, 60, 70 snaps on offense and give you the DA effort on all 60 or 70? He didn't do that at Alabama, so it's something that's going to be coached into him. But these are 5 massive offensive linemen. The Raiders would love to get their hands on any one of these guys. But I think Zion Johnson's the only one that's going to be around at 22. And to me, he could be off the board before that. But the good thing about having all these offensive tackles and offensive linemen that are probably going to go in the top 20, mix in a couple of quarterbacks. When we get to wide receivers, a lot of these guys might be around when the Raiders pick at 22, and it's going to push some defenders down the board. But for me, those were the top 5 guys that kind of stood out and kind of how I'd rank the offensive line as we go. We leave the combine, we head into pro days. So tackles obviously go right to the top, pass rushers and corners. So that's where I'm at with the offensive line.
Yeah. So offensive line here on the Put On Raiders podcast. We will, Ryan kind of broke down some of his top 5 offensive linemen. He went for he's doing the guys who are protecting the quarterbacks. I'm going for the guys who are trying to kill the quarterback. As far as that goes, 5. Purdue's George Karlaftis. The guy, I like him a lot. I think he is one of the things that he reminds me of is he has that that tireless work ethic where he just never stops coming. You remember watching Max Crosby and some of these other really good tireless it's the fourth quarter and he's still giving you that same rush. That same rush up the field, but he's also a guy who can defend the run. So he's a 3-down player. So you also have to worry about that part of it. But for him, that effort alone is going to be, you put him on the right defense. I mean, he is a stalwart on the defensive line because when he's working that hard, everybody else is going to have to come with it and work really hard as well too. So I do like him. In the draft, I think Max Crosby is a guy. Some people say, some people have connected him and kind of said Justin Smith, kind of guy, but they try to whatever as far as the comparisons go. But I like just his ability to just stay on the field all downs. He's not a guy who is going to be on and off. Like, he can play as many snaps as you need him to play. As far as that goes, David Ojabo from Michigan. Here's a little bit of a, and if I butcher his last name, David, I apologize, because I'm not great at that. I'm not great at that. But for him,
you got the hard ones.
I got the hard ones. Yeah, I got the hard ones. I could never say J. Remember last year I couldn't say J. Okay, I just said J. Okay. Yeah. For him, he's a little bit of a risk here, but I think he has a lot of upside as far as just flat out getting to the quarterback. He might be a guy who starts off, not on every down, but like when you have to go get the quarterback, he can come in either no matter what you play on defense, but he can definitely get to the quarterback. It's going to be interesting to see if he goes to a team that doesn't have an allotment of talented players on the other side, on the left side or right side, or in the or at defensive tackle, because he played against my number one. He played on the other side where my number one defensive edge player is Hutchinson. So that is something that you gotta look for as well. But like, I like the speed, I like the athleticism. I think he really can really help a team get to the quarterback. Just kind of an overpowering kind of guy with his speed, his hands at the point of attack. Probably thinking along the lines of like maybe a speed rusher, not as good as Von Miller, Robert Quinn, kind of like on that level, that kind of guy when you look at that as well. Florida State, Jermaine Johnson, a guy who can definitely get to obviously a career of getting to the quarterback, with the junior college, transferred from Georgia to Florida State. So, I mean, Georgia could have even had even more talent on that defensive line as well. So I'm as far as like I said, you're in nickel all the time. So this whole 4-3 or 5 for 4-3 or 3-4 doesn't really matter. But really good football player. A smart football player can go get the quarterback. So that's my number 3 guy. Number 2 would be Kayvon Thibodeaux. So I think people who I've heard talk about this player, because I mean in the Pac-12, we also do the Put on the Raiders beside the Student Body Right USC podcast, and he's just a guy who just is really just an outstanding football player. And I remember when people, because he might have other interests or something like that, people were kind of knocking him down the peg on their list, but I think people are thinking too hard. The guy can just flat out play. He has great hands. He can get to he can make things happen. He can be a game wrecker for a team. So I would definitely be careful of just like kind of pushing him aside and not taking advantage of his skill set as far as that goes. So I mean, I think he's one of the best players. I think he's a top 10 talent, top 10 player in this draft. So Kayvon Thibodeaux is my second one. And I think also with Thibodeaux too is like, I remember when Myles Garrett came out and everybody was not making fun of, but like saying all these things he likes to do all this eccentric stuff. Yeah, he eccentrically gets your quarterback on the ground, like consistently. And I think sometimes you have to just forget about the fact that these kids nowadays they're gonna have different interests and stuff like that. But the guy, when it came to playing football and the whistle blows, he's ready to go. Aiden Hutchinson, Michigan. Obviously, to me, I love the player, love the work ethic, love the tireless go get the quarterback, a leader on that team, and as well. So good football IQ. I know some people compare him to Nick Bosa. I don't know if I go that far. I don't know if he's JJ Watt. I just feel like he's in his own little category, but he's definitely worthy of that top 5 slot, and he can do everything you need a defensive lineman, a defensive edge pass rusher to do. I don't have any qualms about his game. I would love him on any of those teams. And I think if you were some of these other teams who are in the top 5 who need an offensive lineman, I would almost consider getting a veteran offensive lineman just so I can, if like I'm like the Lions, I'm like, can we get a veteran offensive lineman and get this kid? I mean, or if you're the Jaguars, can we get a veteran offensive lineman so we can get this kid? Because I think that's how good he is as far as that goes. So
they did franchise Cam Robinson today. There's probably a reason for that.
Yeah,
Hutchinson.
I mean, you got to think about get a veteran there. Everybody wants to. I mean, I understand you want to protect the quarterback, but you also got to get the other quarterback too as well. So I mean, and they're a team that if they actually put something together, they might be able to be decent enough. Who knows? I mean, players in the NFL make their biggest jump in the year too. So if he actually has a professional play caller and they're able to get run the football, play action, get the ball to wide receivers, maybe get a quality tight end. Maybe they could do something there in Jacksonville. You never know. Wide receivers, it's always crazy with wide receivers. What do you got for wide receivers?
Yeah, this is going to surprise some people, but number 5, I have Treylon Burks. I've seen him as the number 1 wide receiver on a lot of different spots. I don't see that. I like the player. I don't love the player. Measured 6'2", 225, huge wingspan, 79 and an 1/8 inch. Ran a 4.55, which is very concerning considering the track they were running on and how many guys.
What he ran? A 4.5?
4.55. 4.55. This is a good player. To me, the thing with him, he's got to go to the right system. I don't love. To me, he's a straight line guy, kind of like Darius Hayward-Bay. It's straight line speed when he gets going. It takes him a little while to get going. Can he get in and out of breaks versus good defensive backs in the NFL? What kind of route tree is this guy going to be able to run? I don't know. He's got to go to the right system. He's got to be able to get screens. He can win vertically when he can build up speed. I see a lot of DK Metcalf people are saying DK Metcalf ran a 4.3. He didn't run a 4.55.
He's a beast.
So he's gonna have to go to a team that has a creative offensive coordinator, because once he gets the ball in his hands, it's pretty good. My problem is, can he win on a normal route tree and be a guy that can play in any kind of system? I don't think he can. So for me, he comes in at number 5. Number 4, I go Garrett Wilson at Ohio State, just under 6 foot at 5'11", 183. But he ran a 4.38, so he showed speed. To me, when I think of Garrett Wilson, I think about route running. This guy's a very good route runner. He's really good with the ball in his hands after the catch. Probably the best body control of these groups of wide receivers. But again, he's not going to win a lot in the red zone. This isn't a physical guy. He more needs to be able to win with his quickness and his speed. Not a strong guy to 183 pounds. I like him. I don't love him. Again, I wouldn't put him in my top 3. Number 3, I go to Chris Olave. Now, I love Chris Olave. A lot of what I said about Garrett Wilson. Chris Olave, a little bit taller at over 6 foot, 187 pounds. Ran a 4.39. For me, Olave has speed to burn, but he's really good at tracking the ball down the field. This is a vertical receiver that can take the top off of a defense. He's very smooth. He's very fluid with his routes, crisp routes. He's got burst. He can win quickly in the red zone. Is he going to be a monster in the red zone? No, but this is a very good receiver. I'd love the Raiders to get their hands on Chris Olave. I think that 4.39 is going to push him up into the top 20, so I don't think they're going to get a chance at him. I hope they do. But he's a very good football player. He's a guy that I think is a plug and play, put him in. You're talking 900 to 1,000 yards as a rookie. And then you're probably looking at, an 11 to 1,200 yards a season, year 2 go on. This guy's a very good football player.
Question.
Number 2.
Real quick. I'm sorry. Is he like, you remember Terry Glenn?
Yeah.
Is he kind of like Terry Glenn? Or is he more, or will he get the contested ball where Terry Glenn tried to just run right by you?
And he's not going to win a ton of contested balls. Again, he's a speed guy, but he's going to create a lot of separation quickly. He can create it in the short area, he can create it in the intermediate area, and he can create it down the field. So this is a guy that's going to win more with his separation skills and his ability just to get open, running all kinds of routes, which to me is exactly what the Josh McDaniels New England type of offense looks for and values.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that New England is sitting at 21 right in front of the Raiders, because if he gets into that range, I could clearly see pairing him with Mac Jones to give them an option. Number 2, I'd go Jamison Williams. It clearly didn't hurt, had the injury. Measured a little shorter than I thought, 6'1" and 4/8, 179 pounds. Again, pretty thin, almost 76-inch wingspan. When I think of him, again, vertical speed. This guy's going to create down the field. Kind of fits, kind of what the Raiders are missing from last year. If they can get their hands on him. Now, to me, there's a huge red flag with the injury. The Raiders have taken a number of guys that have been hurt.
You can't do it again.
I don't know if you can do it here. We're going to have to see how the medical gets as we get closer to the draft. You don't want this guy missing a ton of time in training camp and trying to get him up to speed once the season starts. Coming off that ACL injury, it's going to be tough. He had surgery mid-January, you'd think, because he got hurt in the national championship game. So even if it's an 8 to 10 month, this guy's probably not going to play the first, 4 to 6 to 8 weeks of the season. So to me, I'd probably pass on him there. If I was the Raiders, if I was a team that had some other established guys outside and could wait, he's worth taking. And to me, number 1 is Drake London. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, he doesn't run fast. Drake London is a monster. This is a physical guy. Came in at just under 6'4", 219 pounds with a 78-inch wingspan. The basketball background, this guy was a one-man show at USC. There was no one else on that team, and he was catching 10 balls a game.
And who was his quarterback? Nobody.
Does he win downfield vertically? No, but he wins contested catches. He's a guy that you can get the ball in his hands. To me, it's the size, and with his size, it's almost 6'4", 220 pounds with the red zone things that you're going to get out of this guy, which the Raiders sorely need, which most teams in the NFL need. He can win in the red zone a variety of different ways. You can run slants, you can run fades, you can just throw it up to him. He's very tough to press. He doesn't move like a forward. He's more like a shooting guard out there. This guy can get in and out of his breaks at that size. Now he's probably going to run at his pro day somewhere around, high 4.4s, low 4.5s. He's not going to run the 4.3s. But he's a guy that you can get the ball in his hands quickly. And he makes a lot of missed tackles. He's one of the best at breaking tackles as far as in college last year. He reminds me a lot of, it was originally Mike Evans. I'm kind of more in the Brandon Marshall, the ex-Bear, Denver Bronco mold now with him.
Yeah.
He's an ex-receiver, which the Raiders need. He's better. He's a better player than, Bryan Edwards. I like Bryan Edwards if he can be used differently than the Raiders did last year, but this is a clear upgrade. And the Raiders don't need that little scat, Z speed guy down the field that's going to catch 3 or 4 balls a game. This guy you can target 10, 12, 14 times a game, and he's going to get 10 catches, 110 yards. He's going to score in the red zone. He can convert on third down. And you can try to double him. You can bracket him. It doesn't matter. This guy just gets open and catches the football. So to me, he's the number 1 receiver in this draft. I will give a shout out to Johan Dotson from Penn State. He kind of came in as that 5B right behind Burks. My question with him is just size, 5'10", 178 pounds. You were hoping he'd run in the high 4.2s, low 4.3s. He ran in the 4.43, so it wasn't great speed from him, but that 4.43 is plenty. It's kind of another option there. He's more quick than fast, but this guy wins with separation. The guy gets open, so that there's something to be said for Dotson out of Penn State. But that's how I line up the wide receivers.
Who was your number 4? I forgot. I mean, I didn't forget.
Garrett Wilson.
Wilson from Ohio State. Okay.
So I went London, Williams, Alave, Wilson, Burks, Dotson, kind of top 6. I hope Drake London's injury pushes him down to the Raiders. I'd love the Raiders to get their hands on Drake London.
Yeah, he would be. And here's the thing.
And he wears number 15.
Yeah, he wears number 15. Yeah, we know what that means. Pro Bowl. And for when you we can say all, Josh McDaniels can say everything he wants to say, but when the play caller is in charge of the draft, hey Patrick, well, I'll get you in round 2. I know you need a corner, Patrick, but we'll get somebody in free agency. I need this wide receiver. I can definitely see him doing that as well. So you had the wide receivers. Let's go with the corners. Now, cornerback is always my favorite position in football, period. I just love corners. This one here, Auburn's Roger McCreary, 6 feet tall, a senior, can play inside. I like it more inside than outside, but we'll see there. We'll see what team he goes to as far as that goes. But really good player, always in phase. Could not great on the interceptions, but but we'll see what happens in the pro game as far as that goes. But I think McCrary is a good spot for any team, any kind of anything you want to run. He could definitely go ahead and do that. Duran Kendrick, so I wanted to put him a little bit higher, but I do like the fact that he is a former wide receiver. You can see on film that he a lot of times will run the route for the wide receiver. He recognizes what's being run against him very quickly. So I do like that apart. I do like that a lot. Went from Clemson to Georgia, went to Georgia at the right time. As far as that goes, but I mean, he really is a good player against the run, can make things happen. Point of attack, does not have that panic mode when the ball is in the air. Like he's very relaxed with it. It can make plays and also can have sticky fingers. He can definitely make INTs as well. I think this guy is going to be, for some reason, I think he's going to be a Patriot. I don't know why. But when I watch Trent McDuffie, I feel like he's a Patriot. Like I just feel like it's just a good corner. Can help a team. As far as inside, outside. Good fluid hips. Can battle receivers down the field. Likes to tackle. So, that's one thing that he really, when you see him a lot of times and on his tape, and they use him as a blitzer a lot of the time up there in Washington as well. So that's a guy who I like a lot. And then 2 is Derek Stingley Jr. Now this is kind of high for this player. I'm just going to go on. I'm really going on the premise that when he is basically waited for this moment to be a pro, and now when he gets to be a pro, he's just going to explode. Kind of similar to, almost the cornerback version of Justin Jefferson. Like, just go there. And it's funny because he is actually, a lot of folks have him going to Minnesota. I just feel like he's going to explode as a pro. And this is just like me. It's basically taking a chance here on this player. I like him a lot. LSU he's just super talented. I know injuries up and down, but I just feel like when he gets to the pros, he's gonna explode for an NFL franchise. This draft for me, and you hear a lot of, I love Willis. I love I love Willis. I love Sauce Gardner. Ahmad Gardner is my number 1 corner. It's hard to I don't really fall in love with guys. I think he just is fluid in everything he does. It don't throw short in his area. Like he has the height to battle receivers. The majority of he has a height to battle receivers down the field. And a lot of these corners are 6 feet. So they're not big. They're not big like he is. He's a guy he was 6'2" with the arm. He has those Kevin McHale arms where he can scratch his ankles. Like he really has his arm, his wingspan is huge. I like this player a lot. I think whoever gets him is going to get a tremendously gifted corner. And a guy who's going to be there for a long time. I think he's the best corner. I think he's one of the best players. If you did a big board, just players period, I think Ahmad Gardner is one of the best players period in this draft. So that's it. Our top 5s as far as O-line, wide receiver, edge, and cornerback. Should be fun going, and should be fun coming on the road when we get that get a little closer to the draft. We'll do a mock draft back and forth and everything like that. But we'll continue doing these position groups here on the Put on Raiders podcast as we get closer to the draft and these pro days and everything like that. But what anything else you want to add about the draft and any of the corners, any of the guys who caught your eye here?
Yeah, I thought you were going to put Tariq Woolen in there from UTSA, the big guy. I think he's 6'4", around a 4.28, somewhere in that range. He looks like an Olympic athlete, and he got going. Like, that guy has acceleration. I'd love to see the tape. I haven't seen any tape on him, but I'd love to see the tape and see how well he gets in and out of breaks at that size. How do his hips work?
Yeah.
Those are questions I'd have, but that he's intriguing. That's an intriguing athlete.
Yeah. And I would love to be able to, I mean, it's some of these guys, it's like, because I don't like watching highlights. Yeah. But it's hard to find film on college.
I can make anyone look really good,
dude. I listen. I know Final Cut Pro real good, man. So I can make anybody's kid look real nice if you want to highlight tape. But yeah, I like to see game tape as much as I can. So I was able to see some of that game tape there. And I do think, I think good for Cincinnati, because I think Cincinnati, they're gonna have a quarterback who gets drafted in one of the first 3 rounds, in Ritter. And they built a pretty good. Now, can they do it for a long period of time? I don't know, but like, they did build a pretty good team this year. They contended with a lot of really big programs as far as that goes. But I just, like, to me, like, Willis is the only quarterback that I'll take a chance on the upside. And we'll talk about quarterbacks when we get down the road. But like, just off the rip, like, that's the guy who I would take a chance on upside. If you're in the top 10 and you need a quarterback, like, I would say, you know what, let's just take a chance. Because I mean, like, even if you don't have to, even if you're like Detroit and you got to play him immediately, or somebody place where a place where he doesn't have to play immediately, you can definitely get something there. But I think Gardner's going to be, he looks, I mean, and like, part of it is like that him in that black uniform looks incredible, which is not going to happen because obviously he's going in the top 10. But yeah, I think Gardner's going to be great as far as that goes. Drake London is going to raise some eyebrows too, because I love the dude. I think he's contested balls. You can all day and all night. I mean, you need somebody in the, like, I mean, I just went through all these corners, Ryan, and they're all 6 feet. I mean, how many corners are 6'5", 6'7", who can hang with Drake London in the red zone?
No, and that's the separator when you start looking at those wide receivers. We love the 40 times, the 4.2s, the 4.3s, but those are little slot guys. The Raiders don't need a slot guy. They have Hunter Renfrow.
Yes.
They need a guy that can play outside and win. And Alave can do that. Williams can do that. Wilson can do that. And London clearly can do that. I don't want to hear about, he didn't get a lot of separation in the Pac-12, this or that. That's not his game. His game is to bully guys. And he does a really good job of it, and he's going to do it in the NFL. I've watched a fair amount of USC, and the guy catches everything. He gets open. He's physical. He can be the big slot. He can run down the seam. Yeah. He's good enough in and out of his breaks to run out routes. He can run slants. He can throw the fades to him. He can throw it into bracket coverage. It doesn't matter. The guy is a legit prospect, and let's hope that the ankle heals up. And to me, I kind of want him to run in the 4.5 during his pro day. If this guy goes out and runs 4.45 at his pro day, he's going to come off the board in the top 12. Yeah, he's not getting anywhere near pick 22. So, just wishful thinking to slide him down.
Do the Pats have the Pats in the past ever traded? They traded up to get anybody, or they usually stay pat in the first round?
They usually trade down.
They trade down, right? Yeah, they usually trade down. It'd be interesting to see if they're close, if that player like of London or somebody they like kind of gets into the teens, will they try to make a jump to go get somebody?
I don't think they will. I think if I had to go to Vegas right now, I would take if it was trade up or trade down, I'd bet on trade down. Like I said, I think there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of holes on this roster, and the Raiders aren't, like we talked about, aren't going to go out in free agency. They're not 1 or 2 players away. They got to replace the entire 2020 draft class. It's gone. I hate to tell Raider fans, but it's gone. So they could trade down, accumulate multiple picks, and just take more bites at the apple. The Raiders need to find players, especially if they're going to start paying Derek Carr, if they're going to pay Max Crosby, they got to pay Hunter. They're going to have to start. The bill's coming due on these guys that have been playing for under $1 million. So the Raiders are going to have to build through the draft, and you might as well. The more chances you get, the better opportunity you are to find depth pieces and long-term guys that can stay on the roster and get their second contract. Did you see the question on Twitter?
No.
Who was the last player the Raiders franchise tagged? Think about that one for if you want to know how the Raiders have been drafting. Who's the last player the Raiders franchise tagged?
It wasn't McFadden? It wasn't Janikowski? Who was last time there? The last
Kayvon Branch.
You gotta be kidding. From UConn? Are you serious?
2012.
Wow.
They haven't used the franchise tag in 9 years.
Wow, Trayvon Branch. That's crazy. Let's get through these questions. That's a very good question. And everybody loves JC Jackson. JC Jackson was a undrafted free agent for the Patriots. So you gotta, so you can. I know we focus on the draft, but also the talent pool of the guys who were undrafted as well. So to keep an eye on that. All questions. Real quick. Did you fall in love with anyone during the combine? Phil from 860. Phil J from 860. I don't really. I fall in love with them during the season. I don't fall in love with people during. I've been burned too many times at the combines as a young child, so I don't really go like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for anybody. I'm not on the Jordan Davis trade right now. I would take his teammate over him. For me. But did you fall in love with anybody during the combine from the kind of the highlights people have been putting out on Twitter?
I didn't see much of the combine. I was working all weekend, but I'm a big Chris Alave guy, and the fact that he ran 4.39 just makes me like him even more.
Momo, and on this question, does Pete Carroll have enough chewing gum for this rebuild? That's pretty funny.
He needs to get a sponsorship deal with Big League Chew.
He does need to do that. What grade would you give Jake from a 213? What grade would you give McDaniels for this coaching staff so far? I'm not going to grade him until the season is. I mean, yeah, we got to be. It's games. I'm not trying to be not giving any pom poms for that. But I do like the diversity along every aspect of diversity, like race, age. Like, I mean, he has you have people on the staff who might end up being a head coach or defensive coordinator for another team or offensive coordinator for another team. Like those things like matter to me. Like having a bunch of yes men, like is not like they have talked about like, having like that, that meeting room where people may not agree. They'll walk out the room and there'll be a united front, but they may not agree and they'll fight for stuff. And I think that's not what we had in the past.
I'll give it a B+. I like the fact that he's got some veteran additions to that defensive staff. Clearly Patrick Graham, but bringing in Rob Ryan.
Yeah, I like that.
He brought in some personalities with some loud voices, and he's not afraid to have those guys on staff. So he's not getting yes men in there. So I like that. Obviously going out and getting Jason Simmons to be the passing game coordinator, adding him. Antonio Pierce is another, type A personality, a loud guy that brings a lot of presence to him. So the fact that he loaded up some of those type of guys to lead that defense, I like that. I would have liked to see, a little bit more experience on the offensive side. I know he's handling it, but, pretty young offensive line coach, pretty young. As far as the offensive coordinator doesn't have any experience being an offensive coordinator. Obviously they kept Edgar Bennett. They don't have a tight ends coach right now. So I do like the running backs coach. They're out of Palomalu from Minnesota. They've had some success there with some running backs, some later round guys other than Dalvin Cook. Madison's turned out to be a pretty good player from Boise State. But yeah, I'd say, I really like the defensive additions. And, we'll see what happens on the offensive side. But if the offense doesn't succeed, that's on McDaniel. So
he knows that. So he knows that full well. That's why I think at 22, it could be, 22 could be an offensive player, even with all the needs they have. Last question. Sam wants to know, I like your top 5 list. Do you have a list of top 5? Can you do a top 5 golf movies next week? I was like, I'll think about it. I think we'll do some golf movies. Golf movies.
At the top of my head, I got Caddyshack, Cup.
And I got what's
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore, Adam Sandler one. Yeah, I don't know.
That might be the only 3 I've ever seen.
That could be
Bagger Vance. I never saw that one.
Never saw that. That would have to be a combined list. I don't think we have 2 lists of that one. Did we do basketball already?
No, we talked about it.
Okay, so yeah, so next week we'll do basketball. We'll do basketball for that one. All right. Put on Raiders podcast here. Listen, thank you for joining the show and subscribing. New subscribers this week. I really appreciate y'all. And that's pretty much it. Ryan, take care.
Yeah.
See you next time.
See you next week.